Peace, everybody. Welcome to Elephant in the Room. We're going to talk about Alabama in the NCAA Tournament. Robert Gillispie, maybe sought after by Ohio State. Football practice cranking back up. All that today on the show. I want to remind you guys that we're brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. And with the promo code next round, you get 50% off up to $1,000 price match on that initial wager. With the NCAA tournament in full swing, or at least about to be in full swing, and as you do those brackets, hey, throw a little money on it. $5 here, put $5 on every game. That'd be a lot of fun just to see how you would do at the end. I actually went to Biloxi and did that a couple of years ago. It was a lot of fun. He's Jay Coker, and I'm Mick Gillispie, and it is great to see you, man. Not in the same spot today, but at least we get to do a show and talk some Bama. But I'm going to talk a little baseball today, too. Did you see they beat Tennessee?
I did. Tried to give it away, too. Jeez, did you see that last inning?
Yeah. It got pretty crazy.
Oh, didn't want to win. Dropping fly balls, throwing ground outs away.
I know.
But, hey, let's be positive. It's a rough weekend for Alabama basketball.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with hoops, with the tournament. I'm going to put the tournament bracket up. Bama went into the SEC tournament and lost to Florida. Florida's a bad matchup for them. Florida lost to Auburn in the championship game, but their 7'1" center also broke his leg, and we hope that he's going to be all right. You hate to see that kind of stuff, but just talking about Alabama, 4 seed against Charleston. I guess we'll kind of talk about all that there. A lot of people feel like, put Alabama on upset alert. But your thoughts on the way that the season ended? 5-5, 2 losses to Florida, had a chance to win the SEC, bad defense, and a Nate Oates extension.
Yeah, good news with the Nate Oates extension. But the end of this year has been pretty, I don't want to say depressing, but it's been a letdown for sure. You get blown out by Florida. You think that's kind of a fluke, and then, you get beat pretty bad again there in the SEC tournament, and you're kind of wondering what the morale of this team's looking like. I heard Nate Oates talking about, the mental toughness of this team, and I was talking about this game this weekend with some buddies, and you sit there and look, and it's, I think anybody can handle a game where you don't hit many shots, your 3-point percentage isn't very good, and the pace of play and the way in which we play, that's going to happen. But to keep giving up points on defense like this, it's no surprise when somebody scores 100 points on us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like you got to be talented to play defense. All these guys have size. We're a little light in the paint, but 100 points is over and over and over again is just inexcusable in my opinion.
They get out of the way of people going to the basket. They move out of the way. I've never seen anything like it. Get fouled.
Oh yeah.
Like if it put a little resistance up. Watching them play basketball. What's that?
I said, give us an enforcer in there.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to go out there and just not put up with any of that. No free buckets, nothing easy. Make them earn it, at least from the foul line if you have to. But we lack the physicality, and it's, even if you lose a game, it's nice to go out there and say, well, we're more physical. We're more physical, and this is going to be a battle no matter what. It just seems that, man, we're not playing well on offense, and we don't have the momentum on our side. We just kind of roll over and let teams walk right over us.
Yeah.
It's not our day today. I guess we're just going to hang it up and go home, Do
you think that's something that they can fix? I don't even know. I think it feels like an effort thing to me, but do you think that the effort and the intensity will be there going into this tournament? Or, are you concerned? I don't know what to think. I could see them figuring it out, and then also I could see them losing in the first round.
Well, that's the worst part about it is that you go into this tournament thinking, I mean, if we win, great, we've got potential, we can shoot the ball. But if we lose, I mean, we've got more than enough potential to just, again, roll over and not play well and call it a year. It's so much fun to watch a basketball team with grit and toughness and pride, and it's hard to you just don't feel like there's a bunch of guys out there they're going to just give everything they got on that court. And which, look, I know they're playing hard, but I mean, I think they've got more in the tank, and that's evident in the defensive play. I was talking to a guy this weekend, and he was talking about the physicality we had when we were playing in 2016 and how much fun he had watching that team. And he's like, talking about the Texas A&M game and some other games where I had some physical plays, and then some other guys did too. And I was like, look, I mean, I'm definitely not putting myself in a category with guys that are really good runners of the ball. But I said it does make you more physical and a lot more confident when you don't care if you leave the game in a stretcher. You just,
right.
You don't care. You just, whatever it takes to win, that's what it takes. And you're going to get the best that I have, whether it's talent or whether it's just grit and fight, again, win or lose, they don't want to play you again. That's how you want the teams to play or feel when they leave the court, leave the field. And I just want to see some of that mentality on the basketball court.
At least make them shoot jumpers instead of just everyone under the basket, lay it up, I mean, I know football's a different sport, but basically you're saying, take that intensity and apply it on defense. And it's not like the offense has even been that good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they had the long drought at the end of the Tennessee game. They had a long drought, in the Florida game, and they're just not good enough on defense not to make a bunch of shots.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We completely, when you don't play defense, you completely live and die by that sword. And again, we've talked about this before. You looked at our team last year, and just when they walked out on the court, we were bigger, faster, stronger. And so we should have dominated on defense, and we did a lot. But, man, we were also shooting the ball better than we did this year. And it's just tough, man. It's tough to go from the team loaded with talent like last year that could play pretty bad and beat elite teams to, having to go out there and play one of your best games to win. And then on top of that, you're not playing defense either. So, and Nate Oates he referred to that. Last year he said he felt like he had guys that didn't let their offensive play affect the defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. And he said this year that's a hurdle we've been battling, the entire season is, are we going to let this adversity get in the way of playing good defense and staying in ball games? And, I mean, you can see it every time we line up, especially the last 3 weeks. Well, we lost to Tennessee. That seemed to take a lot of air out of us, Just seemed like a different team ever since that game. But, again, as Alabama fans, whether we win or lose, it's how you do it. And you just want to see some battle in them.
Yeah, no doubt. 9.5-point favorites, Alabama. And they're still a 4 seed.
Yeah.
Charleston has been one of the hottest teams in basketball. I mean, they won their last 10, and I think like 14 out of 15.
Well, Charleston to me sounds like a sucker side. Then 9.5. That sounds like a crazy line.
It feels like they're begging you to take them.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be their sucker side. That makes me feel really good about Alabama.
You love that. you when the number looks weird like that, you love it.
Yeah, giving Charleston 9.5. I may be a dumbass, but I'm not that big of a dumbass.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Charleston other than you're heading there soon, and I asked
Yeah.
if you were going down there for a scout, but I guess it's more for a wedding, huh?
Oh yeah, going for a wedding. If there's sinners on the IR, man, we'll have to delete this podcast. It's off the court.
Yeah. They're 27-7 and CAA tournament winners.
What's who are their best wins?
You would ask that.
Yeah.
Well, it just talk while I'm figuring it out. I mean,
have you filled out a bracket?
I haven't yet.
Who you got? Who you thinking?
Well, UConn's going to be tough. I mean, I think UConn is built to win. I think it's open. Houston's had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, Houston seems to always, at least in the last few years, they've always been, one of the top teams, and you feel like it doesn't really matter. They're not going to win it all at the end of the year. It just seems like they kind of fall apart whenever tournament time rolls around.
Here's the winning streak, by the way. You ready? Well, I can put this up on the screen. Just finish your thought. Yeah, well, I'll just throw it up.
Who's winning streak?
Charleston. You asked like who they beat, so
have they beaten any notable opponents?
I wouldn't use the word notable.
Okay, well, maybe we should be 9.5 point favorites.
There you go. All right, you got Stony Brook, Towson, Monmouth, Hofstra, Campbell.
Man.
Towson again.
A lot of blue bloods in there, huh?
Delaware, William and Mary, Northeastern, Drexel, North Carolina, A&T. I didn't even know they had an A&T. And then William and Mary, they lost to Wilmington twice. They lost to Towson once. And let's see what their non-conference. They did beat Coastal Carolina and the Citadel. Lost to FAU, who's ranked 13th. But look, I mean, they lost 90-74. I mean, it's not like they got blown out.
FAU is actually pretty good, I think.
Yeah, they are. Wyoming, they lost to them. Vermont, Duquesne. So the teams they lost to, in basketball terms aren't bad, like you've heard of them before.
Is Wyoming pretty good?
Sure.
I was about to say. Keep pumping them up, Nick.
Yeah. I know. I honestly, I don't know. Last year I picked Bama to win, and of course out in the second round. So
yeah. Well, they made it to Sweet 16 last, but I will say San Diego.
Oh, no, that's right. They lost in the Sweet 16. Yeah.
Yeah, and San Diego did make it to the national championship.
Yeah, it should have been us.
Yeah, we talked. That last year, that the whole mid-season issue kind of put a damper on everything.
Yeah,
if that happened, I think we'd have been.
We weren't doing our show yet, were we?
Huh?
We weren't doing our show when all that happened.
No, we weren't.
We're not there yet. We haven't hit our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, we hadn't hit season 2 yet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Getting there though. Oh yeah, because we started during the football season. So Spokane, Washington, a 7:35 tip off Friday, and Bama's a 9.5 point favorite. How about the NCAA putting Alabama, UAB, and Auburn all in Spokane, Washington? And does that? I mean, it was like what?
Oh yeah, just NCAA known for making their good decisions. Put a lot of good logistical data together to put that forth.
Yeah, I wish it was Alabama playing to take on UAB, and I heard Lance on the next round today saying that that it actually happened once back in the 90s.
South Alabama beat Alabama in the NCAA tournament one year.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I can't remember which year it was, but
they never play UAB.
No.
And that's who Auburn's like lined up with, UAB.
What do you mean? Just like
if they win, they both win, they play each other.
Oh yeah. I thought you meant like the winning tradition of each program was kind of lined up together.
No,
like Alabama's little brothers.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. Look here, UAB's got to beat San Diego State, and then Auburn's got to beat Yale, and then they would play each other. And then, of course, Bama's got to beat Charleston, and then they would play the winner of St. Mary's and Grand Canyon. That's going to be St. Mary's is good conference. They beat Gonzaga. They're going to be tough.
Isn't that where Patino is now, or is he at St. Joseph's?
Yeah, no, he didn't make it. You see that? He didn't make it. He's the coach of the Red Storm. And
no, St. John. Is it St. John's?
It might be St. John's.
He went on a podcast. I think he was on Pardon My Take last week, talking about the same stuff that Coach Saban talks about. Just how frustrating it was or is now that
St. John's.
Yeah, all the meetings that he goes to. He's talking about all his staff meetings and everybody. Instead of talking about ball, it's like, I hear this guy from North Carolina is going to be available. We're going to have 3 guys from our team this year still in the room next year, and they're talking about how they got to go out and find new guys, and he's like, it's just not as enjoyable as it used to be, which I can understand. He talked about coaching some of the great players that are in the NBA now. How he was able to develop them from year 1 to year 4. And he's just like, it's just gotten so out of hand with the transfer portal. What's crazy is we've gone from, I remember the NBA, I can't remember when they put that rule together where you had to have 1 year in college, the one and done year. And Bill Knight threw a fit about it. Do you remember when all that was going down? He was the first one to step up and just protest that, he would die on that hill. And now we've got, you imagine him coaching in today's game, it wouldn't be possible.
No.
I remember watching that remember he had that reality TV show on ESPN where they followed his team, and they had one walk-on spot, and they followed all the walk-ons through, and they showed him in practice just tearing kids apart, and these walk-on, like a walk-on finally get the spot, and you're sitting there watching the TV show, and he's all excited, but in the back of your mind watching, you're like, I don't know if I'd want that spot.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
No, yeah.
Well, maybe Bama needs to be a little bit harder on. I don't know. I don't know enough about what's going on behind the scenes to know why they don't play better defense. I know Reitzel was injured, that hurt, and it really feels like when Mo got suspended for elbowing the Florida guy, the defensive intensity from that point on seemed to really drop off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They won that game. That was the one they beat Florida. But they just got to find that they've just got to decide that they're going to play tight defense. They're going to make it very difficult on their opponents to score and just make it happen, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that was the best game of the year. And we played with some intensity that game. At first I was about to turn the TV off, and then we got ourselves together, started playing hard ball. And, that was, again, I remember I was sitting in my house watching it with Sarah and my two daughters. Man, I was jumping around the living room. I was so excited. And it finally looked like we were on track, building momentum. And it's just crazy how much, a team's morale can change the performance on the floor. It's not just about who's the best team out there, because, we can shoot anybody out of the building.
Right.
Yeah. But, excited about Friday. And I don't know. I think looking at that bracket, we got a chance to make a run,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
pull that up. I want to see where Auburn is, because all I heard yesterday was that, they were all angry about their seeding, and everybody talked about how they got hosed.
I didn't think so. I mean, I thought they were a 4 seed. I know they won the SEC tournament, but they also had a pretty easy run, and then they played Florida, and Florida's center broke his leg in the beginning of the game, so it just kind of worked into their favor. I'm not taking anything away from them, but all the main teams got knocked out early except them. Kentucky, Tennessee, and Alabama. And I mean, I think they're good. I think Bama's good. I think Tennessee's good. I think Kentucky's good, but they're all beatable to me. I don't look at any of these teams. Tennessee, watching them just get clobbered by Mississippi State, it's like, wow, not expecting that. But look, I mean, you're playing Yale in the first game. I mean, you should be able to beat them with, your walk-ons, right?
Yeah.
Because that's basically who they have, is a team of walk-ons. And then your second round matchup would be tough. You're probably going to play San Diego State. But it's not last year's San Diego State team.
Yeah. Is UConn the number 1 overall seed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're in that division, and are in that bracket. Illinois, just won the won the Big Ten tournament. Got Washington State and Drake and Iowa State and the Jackrabbits. I mean, look, it's a really good basketball bracket, but I don't know. I mean,
Kentucky seems to have a pretty good seeding with who all they got.
Yeah, let's swing over there. Yeah, Oakland, and then Texas Tech, NC State. I watched NC State win the ACC. They got in because they won the ACC tournament. So they're coming in with a lot of momentum. I mean, you'll see if that continues against Texas Tech. But I'm not a fan of the play-in games. I just don't understand how you can't just put 64 teams in there. It's like we always want to keep on pushing it, and then it's like we want to sit around and listen to Rick Pitino cry because he didn't get in, or this coach or that coach. Look, man, I mean, there's 68 teams. I mean, and if you're on the bubble and you don't get in, that's your fault.
That's what, Charles Barkley had a great take about that 2 or 3 years ago. He said the same thing. He was like, I mean, dude, if you're not in the top 68, what are you even talking about?
Right.
I mean, what are we doing?
Well, Bama's always been one of those like bottom type teams until Nate Oates took over. Think about all the years where you're just like begging for a 13 seed or something, And so, I mean,
just one game to watch in the tournament.
Right. But at least you get to pick them in a bracket. They're dangerous just because of the fact that you look at them and you go, they can shoot. They were kind of getting the one thing I look at is I say, hey, they're getting healthy at the right time.
Yeah.
Florida was a bad matchup for them. That's what my hope is. And then they just jump on it and make something happen. But it'll be nice Friday night when this thing gets kicked off. And we definitely need to make sure we're in the same. We do the next round basketball bracket. You got to do one. I'll do one, and we'll kind of follow that on here. See who does.
The thing that gets me though is the amount of times I know you've heard Nate Oates' press conferences, I mean, he does not hold back any punches on this team. He talks about, the lack of toughness, how they're not known for defense. I mean, there's just no response. Just doesn't seem to be much of a response from the team. Just your coach publicly calling you out, and the attitude just doesn't seem to change. It's just so strange.
Right.
I mean, usually after a big loss or, a few losses, especially in basketball, it's like, okay, we want to bet that team next week because they're coming back. They're going to play on fire. And with this team, you just don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen the worst of them. And I feel like we've seen the worst that Alabama's been all year, the last few games, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you get into these tournaments and it's a chance to kind of play your best. You start over again, and I've seen it too in different sports. Where you have a good team, things haven't gone your way, and then all of a sudden, everybody's going to be picking against Alabama.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be one of the teams that a lot of people are going to pick to lose this matchup. And I think that's also a little bit easier to ride with than everybody picking you to win it like last year. So we'll, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out too.
Yeah, well, the only thing about that is and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm, way off on this. But last year when we went in, you at least felt like we were legitimately good enough to win it all. We were well-rounded, didn't have a weakness really. We could win games in multiple different ways, but this year, if the right team doesn't show up, we don't have much of a chance.
Yeah, you're right about that. All right, well, let's switch gears and talk football. Football practice will crank back up on tomorrow, on Tuesday, and there's some rumors that not really rumors. I shouldn't say rumors, but Ohio State's running back coach, Coach Alford, took a job with Michigan, which is crazy. And one of the names that has popped up as a potential replacement has been Robert Gillispie, who just got promoted, right, to associate head coach or whatever. Do you think do you think he's gonna bolt, or do you think he's gonna stick around? Or what's your gut feeling on that?
Man, that's, to me, once you get to Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, kind of Florida, maybe USC, Oklahoma, Texas. All those are lateral moves at that point.
Right.
So what are you looking at? What are you seeing that makes you want to go to Ohio State? What exactly about that job sounds better to you? And Robert is now he's the assistant head coach as well. You can put your spin on the program with a lot more emphasis at Alabama than most assistant coaches over the last 15 years.
Right.
I wouldn't understand it unless there was some kind of personal relationship with a coach at Ohio State that he's just kind of had a dream of coaching with and for over the last few years. But let me tell you, Ohio State, and look, I know Kalen DeBoer, I think he's going to do a great job. But even if I'm wrong, and I think he's got 3 years no matter what. But even if I'm wrong and things don't go well, I think you at least have 3 years to go. Ryan Day, let me tell you, if he loses to Michigan again after Harbaugh has gone, which, it is Michigan. Michigan's, I know they're going through a lot of adversity now, but with Harbaugh leaving and Michigan seeming to be in a spot where they've fallen from the top just based on the portal and everything else. You lose to Michigan again this year, and I don't know if Ryan Day's around next year.
Well, if you lose to them after all that money they spent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you factor that in too. I mean, people are spending real money on that program being the best in the country. And, I mean, they can't even beat their biggest rival for what is it? Has it been 3 years?
Yeah.
You know, not doing much since 2014, losing to Michigan in the recent past, and just Ohio State seems to be taking a back seat to Michigan. So that to me seems like a much more volatile position than Alabama as of right now.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean,
Alabama's been dominating for so long. I mean, you know, we all look at the program and we know what kind of obstacles Kalen's got in front of him. So to me, it's very understandable to not. I mean, I don't want us to, you know, only win 9 games, but if he does, I can understand it. It's a tough transition with a lot of moving parts, especially in this college football landscape. But he's got to be given time to succeed, and I think Robert Gillespie is not going anywhere as long as it's up to Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, right.
He's obviously shown his support, shown his respect for Robert, and I think Robert's a very valuable asset to the team, and he's the kind of guy you got to keep around. He's part of that fabric at Alabama right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think he would leave before the end of spring practice. So if this thing lingers and, you know, it's like April 13th and we have the 8A game, and then all of a sudden, I've found through this, never say never. You know,
I'm starting to wonder if it's a coordinated effort by everybody in college football, the media, especially coaches. I mean, if they're not like, you know what, Alabama's been doing what they've been doing to us for years, we're just going to try to just pillage everything about their program, players, coaches, dig the grave as deep as possible, and not let Alabama climb out.
Yeah.
That just seemed like, and look, I know that it's at Alabama. You are going to have the best coaches. Just the history. Who wouldn't want to coach at Alabama? But man, every time there's an opening, all you hear is, well, Alabama coach A, Alabama coach B. They're the first on the list. You know, which is a great compliment. But at the same time, it's like, guys, can we chill out a little bit?
Yeah, cut us a break here, right?
I mean, it's been week after week, either a transfer or a coach or something, you know.
Yeah.
But again, I think Kalen's built for this. I think he's built with a steady hand. I think he's the kind of guy you got to have to right the ship, you know, amongst all this chaos.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're definitely right. And then the practice has gotten off to a good start. You know, we have video from practice. Next round's got somebody out there covering it. Like there's a lot more access than there used to be, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of recruits, man, like 70 recruits showed up to watch practice that last Friday. Did you ever do any of that? Do you remember going to practices as a recruit?
No, I didn't. I'm trying to think. I don't think I went to a spring game at Florida State. But as far as practice goes, no. But, at the same time, I mean, I was pretty low key. When I committed, I was committed. If they asked me to come to Tallahassee, I'd go, here and there. But, I didn't want my coaches to feel like they had to. I didn't want to be a high maintenance guy they felt like they had to deal with all the time to keep happy.
Mm-hmm.
I was committed. I was going. Let's not play the game. I'll be there in a few months, and we'll handle business when I'm a student there. So no, I didn't go to many practices. I don't know. I don't think I went to one. I went to an Auburn scrimmage back before I had any offers at all. That's when I met Cam Newton, and we had that conversation about if there was, anybody I wouldn't want to fight that I've met in college football. Cam Newton, after after seeing him, he passes the eye test.
Really?
Stay away from that guy.
Was he? Well, so you met him and you're like, man, this is just an animal, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, when I met him, he was the biggest human being. In terms of just impressive, like muscles everywhere. Like you just. I remember I shook his hand. I was standing next to him, and I swear his traps almost touched his ears. I was like,
Jeez.
God. And yeah, I mean, just an ungodly human. Looked like he was built in a lab. If you've never seen him up close, especially when he was playing, I don't know if he is still that impressive today. But man, when you look at him up close, face to face, and you see how big he is, it's like when I was a junior in high school. I remember after meeting him, I was like starting to look in the mirror, like I don't know if I got what it takes.
Oh yeah, he was a Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh yeah, he was the. You look at that Auburn team that won the national championship that year. I mean, they went like 4-8 the next year.
Yeah.
And that team was basically Michael Dyer, Nick Fairley, and Cam Newton, and they carried that team to a national championship. And it was, I mean, really Cam Newton that was doing it all. Just, I mean, you couldn't tackle him. He was faster than everybody. He could throw the hell out of the ball. I mean, I think probably the best college football player that I've ever seen in my lifetime. Just totally dominate every game he played in.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic. And I think finally, like, is he done with the NFL now?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So they got some practice starts back up. Coach DeBoer has done a great job recruiting. I mean, like he's just slid right into his own way of doing things. There was a Zoom with a bunch of former players on it with Coach DeBoer. Did you hear about that? And do you know anyone that was part of that?
Yeah, I got the invite and I missed it. I wish I had been able to log in, but I had something going on, so I couldn't do it. But yeah, I heard about it. It was with a lot of the former players, but I haven't heard about the messaging or what was discussed.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though that he's thought about you guys and he's reaching out and wanting the guys that played to still be involved.
Yeah, man, I tell you, that's one of the main things that stuck out to me, and I think you have to have it, especially at Alabama, because it's such a loyal program. I mean, any new coach that comes in I think he's got to come in and reach out to players and have that support and have players back. To be a liaison for the program and support current players and here with the pressure that's going to be on him, or any Alabama coach, I think you got to have as much help as you can get, and the former players being around to kind of losses are going to come, help soften those blows during the losses and keep a unified front. I think you got to have that.
Yeah,
and more so at Alabama than a lot of other places, just because there's no other distractions in this state. Alabama football is king, and you either win or go home, and so you better unify everybody that could possibly support you because you're going to need it.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk a little baseball. They beat Tennessee, number 4 Tennessee, 2 out of 3. They lost on Friday. They came back on Saturday. They got a go ahead home run in the bottom of the 8th on Sunday and held on. Tried to give it away at the end, but they didn't. And I'm trying to think, man. I mean, like, that's one of the biggest series wins that program has had in a long time. And I know that they've won some games. They beat Ole Miss when they were number 1, but they weren't. That Ole Miss team lost a lot. I mean, Tennessee with Tony Vitello is a top-notch program. I mean, they're to me in that elite status. And for Alabama to beat them 2 out of 3, that tells me that Alabama right now is for real.
Yeah. What do you think about, so when I guess this is more about Tennessee but we are talking about this in terms of Alabama basketball as well. But do you remember, I guess it was 2 years ago when Tennessee was, red hot, number one team in the country. They had Tony Vitello was pretty much encouraging them to, just talk shit and I mean, just do whatever it took, be dirty if you had to. I mean, I say that within reason, but
they had the pimp, the pimp coat,
Oh yeah, I mean, just all about trying to, have swagger and just have a tough guy mentality. And when I'm watching it, I'm like, these freaking tools, get out of here. And but I'm sitting here thinking, I'm also like, if that's going to get your team to play with grit and fire and be motivated every game, I mean, I don't know, but you dang sure look like a fool doing it sometimes.
A lot of people had a problem with it. I mean, they changed the SEC rules on some of that stuff because of them. But I'm all about the entertainment, man. I don't care. It's nice to have a villain sometimes, just a team that you really, really want to beat. And they were stacked. And they didn't get to the World Series. Remember, they lost to Notre Dame in the Super Regional.
Yeah.
And that's, I think it's sandwiched between trips to Omaha. But that team was the best of the team, of all the teams, and they didn't get there. And that's kind of the way that things work sometimes, the team with the most talent doesn't always win. And I thought even when Ole Miss won the national championship, that they were still the best team. They just didn't make it. They didn't make it. But I didn't have a problem with it. I know like a lot of people did. I just think that kind of stuff's fun. As long as you're not like showing up the other team, and maybe I guess it could have maybe felt like that. But I think it's all fun.
Well, that's what I always say. It's like I said this, as much as I hated to say it this weekend, I was like, honestly, Alabama needs a Katie Johnson, that Auburn guard that's been there for a decade, it seems like, that just is fired up all the time, just obnoxious. But every guy that I've played with like that, it's annoying as hell looking at it on the sideline from the other opposing sideline.
Yeah.
And you love having those guys on your team to just, generate the energy and always keep the team up, playing hard, playing fast. So I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence about that. But we need some energizers, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, for Bama, the way that things went with their coach last year, and the players really stood up after that, and fought really hard. And then this year, it feels like they have a legitimate chance to be a contender. And that's good news.
When's the last time we've been in the World Series?
I think it was 1999.
Man, what was the year? When was the year we lost to North Carolina?
2006.
Okay, when they had we picked a guy off at first base and ended up being a balk, and I think that guy scored. We lost or something like that.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah. When I was broadcasting Bama with Chris Stewart on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, Bama lost the Super Regional to Clemson, won the first game, and then lost the next two.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that might have been 2011, maybe. I don't know. It was the last games I did on CTSN for baseball because I started doing the Cubs right after that. Yeah. And I couldn't do it anymore. But I really liked it. I mean, I always wanted to do games when Jim Wells was there. So getting the opportunity to broadcast baseball with Jim Wells, just because he was such an influence in my career when I was a student, was great. But then he retired, and I was like, man, I finally get there. And then Mitch Gaspard took over, and I did the TV for a year. and then he left, and then that was kind of my last, venture on there, on calling the games. And it's been a rocky road for Alabama really since Mitch left. They hired that golf coach, Coach Golf. He was terrible, and they got rid of him, and then obviously they the guy that got fired for gambling against the team.
I wonder. That's got to be. I'd like to ask Greg, but I mean, that's got to be the worst hire he's ever made. I mean,
yeah, or alleged.
Yeah.
I still can't even.
I don't think that's alleged. I think that's pretty. I think that's
pretty set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine?
No, no, I really can. I mean, I think it happens a lot more in football, and it's easier to disguise in football because there's a lot more people gambling and a lot more money on it. And you saw the story. The guy said, hey, there's that gamblers, the backup quarterback at Vanderbilt said the gamblers asked him about throwing football games and acted like, teams do that. And, that guy made that claim, like a week or two ago. And honestly, I wouldn't surprise me. I mean, now that there's NIL, I think that stuff becomes less likely because these guys are actually making some money now.
Yeah. I mean, I would not be surprised at all if it's happened before, but I mean, it's had to have happened before.
It has to. Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen it before. I never been approached about it or anything like that, but I can't imagine somebody hadn't been dumb enough to do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think they have actually caught people doing it in college sports over the years. But yeah, I mean, that'd be weird, right? Like you're hanging out at your favorite establishment, and some guy that looks like Tony Soprano comes up to you and
somebody looks like Rick Pitino.
Yeah. Comes
in
up.
A white suit.
Yeah. Like in the movies, right?
Yeah.
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a lot more of that. And they'll catch them because there's a task force that looks at that stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, the worst thing about it would be, I mean, once you if a kid did do something like that, you've got a bookie that's, I mean, got his claws in you now. You're done. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Either he's going to get his hands on you, or the law's going to get you. And oh man, you're done anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, man, you know what? We got a big week of of sports, a big weekend of sports coming. When we get back on here, we'll kind of see what's going on with football practice. Anything else that you want to get into before we wrap it up today?
Man, next week gonna get back to normal in the studio. Gonna have Ryan Anderson back. That's always a good one, and might see if we can't get old Shank in there. We got to get a theme name for those podcasts with Shank and Ryan in there.
Yeah, you're right. I miss seeing those guys. Those are the best laughs too.
I know.
I'm excited about it. Well, cool, brother. Well, you have a great couple days. Are we gonna try to hook up, or is this it for the week?
No, I'll be able to do it Thursday. Just have to do it remote.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
Yep, little brother-in-law getting married this weekend, so headed out of town for that, and finally normal schedule next week, and be back on track.
Awesome. All right, guys, don't forget that we're brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. You use the promo code next round, and you get up to 50% to $1,000 price match on that initial wager. And if you need some help, Lance's Lock, lanceslock.com. All those basketball games covered on Lance's Lock. And you're talking about every single tournament game, which includes the playing games. They'll have those there, the NBA, baseball. So a lot of things going on right now, and get some help over at lanceslock.com. For Jay Coker, I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and roll tide.
Roll Tide.